Thanks to our sponsor DoneDeal.ie, we bring you Business Bites, the best bits of that great business show served up in individual servings.
DoneDeal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on DoneDeal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
From episode 140, Ireland's top tipster and Strikepay founder Oli Kavanagh explains how his tech is making giving tips so easy.
That great business show.
We spotted a curious article in the Wall Street Journal about businesses introducing new options for tipping at self-checkout machines like coffee shops or airports. Yes, you can now tip a machine where you press the buttons. Being the US, we're talking here about a typical 20% being added to your purchase price. And if you haven't been to the States recently, well, prices are plumb crazy, like $6 for a bottle of water from a vending machine in the airport. And now they're asking for a 20% tip on top of that for you to push the button to pick it up yourself. As one person quoted in the article said, they're cutting labour costs by doing self-checkout. So what's the point of asking for a tip? Others say this is an example of what they call tip creep, an attempt to guilt trip people into tipping for something when they typically wouldn't. The brilliantly named Strikepay is a fast-growing Dublin-based financial technology company headed by Oli Kavanagh. They offer a seamless and patent-pending technology that allows any business or charity to be tipped, paid, or donated to instantly. But they don't tip machines. Or do they? Oli Kavanagh, founder of Strikepay, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much, Colin. Delighted to be here.
You tip machines? Does your Strikepay tip machines?
Well, it's used in many environments and locations, but I've never heard of anyone expecting a tip for like a water bottle or something in one of those honesty systems. No, we don't do that, and that's wild. What we do is make payments easier, and the company started because everyone stopped carrying cash 3 years ago, and it became more difficult to pay people. When I say pay, it can be for a service, maybe a plumber for a call-out fee. You don't have the €100 in cash, or tipping a barista or delivery driver, actually, or charities collecting in the street for donations. All three of those kind of broad areas had a huge problem that we fixed, and very quickly early on during the pandemic. And fast forward just over 2 years now, we're in 20,000 locations, helping people get paid, tipped, or donated to easier than they ever have been.
And people might say, why can Oli Kavanagh at Strikepay do this when others haven't done it, couldn't do it, or didn't do it? But what they don't know about you is you are literally a serial entrepreneur. You've had a few businesses along the way.
I've started or been early on in a number of tech companies, I think total 9, of which 5 I was co-founder or founder. Not all succeeded. There's a few lessons learned in there.
That's all right. That's allowed.
Which you won't find on my LinkedIn profile. Actually, there's one failure on my LinkedIn profile because it's a good failure. But the others, there's a couple of exits in there. But I'm still waiting for the big one. And this is, I think, definitely the big one because it's so timely. Strikepay is super timely.
Well, let's talk about how obviously you could see a problem, but was it you who saw the problem? Where were you when you saw the problem? And were you sitting doodling, watching TV or something and said, I know how to fix this? What was the process?
Something almost like that. During the first lockdown, at the end of it, myself and my wife and the kids got out of Dublin because we had cabin fever, and we went down to Adair and stayed in Dunraven Arms. And there's no elevator in Dunraven Arms. We were on the second floor and we had bags for 4 of us. And there was this young guy, concierge, with a nice uniform on. And he insisted in carrying our bags. I didn't want him to because I knew I didn't have any cash because I'd stopped carrying cash 2 months prior to that completely.
I understand that problem.
Yeah. And I knew my wife had as well. We'd totally gone cashless. And anyway, it turns out so did everyone. So the world was advanced by 10 or 15 years towards the cashless society. So I felt bad because I knew I wasn't going to be able to tip him. And as we were going up the stairs, I was saying to my wife, please just rumble around in your purse, find something. We had nothing. When we got to the room, I said to him, I'm really sorry. You deserve a tip, but I just don't have any cash. And he said, don't worry, no one does. And I said, so you've noticed an effect? And he said, yeah, I used to get lots of tips and I don't get any at all. And then I sat down that weekend and listed 10 or 12 occasions during that first lockdown where I wanted to give someone money and I couldn't. And some of them were scenarios like that, kind of a tipping scenario. Some of them were paying for services. Actually, it's either a dishwasher or a washing machine went and we had to replace it. So we managed to get a plumber during lockdown to do it, and paying him was a pain. And he didn't have any means of accepting contactless payments. He didn't even have Revolut or anything. So I just thought someone has got to come up with something that's can be massively scalable and basically could be a personal payment terminal.
And
that everyone in the world could have their own personal payment terminal, contactless payment terminal.
What do you do, or how does your one work?
So we came up with when I say we, so I had this idea and I had a couple of thoughts around how it might work using NFC technology or QR codes, which weren't popular at the time, but I thought that they had some potential, and or something else. And I went to someone who's a leading expert in the payment space and said, I think there's a huge problem here. I think there's a massive opportunity. I've done some research, and just between Ireland, UK and the USA, there's 60 million people whose incomes have gone down just in the tipping vertical. And then there's a whole bunch of other people in the kind of tradespeople and, who are finding it difficult to get paid. And then there's pretty much every charity in the world. And so I said, there's a massive opportunity. And can we fix this problem? So fast forward a number of months later, we had, company registered, we had Enterprise Ireland interested in backing us. We had the development underway in-house, and we released a product at the end of that year, which was revenue generating on day one after 3 months of development. And we had a global patent filed in it in the US. We did it in the US because it gives you global protection and it's sealed. We didn't want anyone else to see what we were doing.
Sorry, I have to ask you about that. I've never heard of this one. So you can seal your patent and people can't see it?
Yeah, which we thought was important.
Yeah.
And quite often when you're filing patents, it's, other people can see it. But we knew that we were onto something that hadn't been done before, which was basically the world's first instant payment terminal, almost disposable payment terminal that we could give to 1 billion people. And, if you rewind 20 years ago, the thought of everyone having their own mobile phone was wild.
Yeah.
Now, of course, so I think it's the same. I think everyone will have their own payment terminal.
And will it be on the phone?
It can be different places. So some people actually just carry it as the screensaver on their phone, and it's a QR code, just scan that to pay me. And we actually have businesses in the UK using that. At IKEA, if you order a bread or something from IKEA in the UK, their delivery company, which is called Homedale, they deliver it to your house, and the drivers are all trained to assemble. If you want the driver to assemble it, you have to pay extra. So it's a minimum £85. Was a problem because people didn't have the cash and they didn't want to go to the ATM. The drivers didn't want to carry a float or didn't want to buy a clunky payment terminal that needs to be charged and expensive and they break. So now literally those drivers have a Strikepay QR code on their phone and they just show it to the customer and say, that's how you pay. And so they scan it. The average kind of £85 then is instantly within about 3 seconds back in head office. So no money goes missing. No money was, no one needed to go to the ATM. It's all totally instant. So that's what we these are the various different things that we've done. Others, if you go into any hair and beauty salon across, Ireland and a whole bunch in the UK, you can see at the counter, there's a strut card there, which is like kind of a tent card, which says, if you'd like to leave a gratuity, please scan here.
I've seen that. Is that one of yours?
Yeah. We're pretty much the monopoly now in Ireland. And so every Peter Mark, every Tony and Guy, all the big, hair and beauty salons, all the barbers, Sam's Barbers, Grafton Barber, Sugar Daddy, Market Barbers, they all use us. And when you go in there, you just scan the QR code and it brings up all either the barbers or the stylists or the therapists and all the beauty salons like Mink and many more. And you just choose the person that gave you your treatment today and tip them directly. And the directly part is really important because it doesn't go through the business, which means they're compliant with the new tipping legislation, which is has been extremely beneficial to us, that businesses don't want to take tips through the card machine anymore. I mean, even before the legislation, it was a problem because it created admin overhead and cost to the business.
You have a patented or patent pending technology, but it sounds like Visa, MasterCard or Revolut or somebody should be knocking on your door, just buying you out immediately.
Well, one of those names that you just mentioned did knock on our door, and before
you said, who are you?
Early on. Well, no, yeah, early on, and we didn't want to talk to them because we actually didn't want them to know about us until we'd gotten a bit more traction. Anyway, we turned out to have a relationship with them, and we've been responsible for thousands of new accounts.
So my eyes are getting wider and wider because you have a huge business, or the potential for a huge business.
Yeah, potential is huge now. So we kind of dominated Ireland, I think.
Oh, not Ireland. I'm thinking the world.
No, exactly. But we're in nearly 12,000 locations in the UK now as well.
How many locations could there be in the UK? Would there be 1.2 million or 12 million or?
Well, there's 60 million people in the UK.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. 12,000 is not a big number in the UK.
No, exactly. So and those locations that we have are typically they're kind of business environments. But literally, this is a personal payment terminal. So every person in the UK could have it. And
so how are you going to get them to adopt, and how are you going to sell, or what's the process next?
Yeah, so we've done extremely well with a fairly small team in Dublin getting kind of dominant position in Ireland, and probably the leading QR payments company in Ireland and UK, actually, possibly at the moment. But to take it up to the next stage requires additional funding. So we raised fund. We did 2 rounds of funding. We did a pre-seed round, which Enterprise Ireland participated in. They're very helpful. And then we did a seed round. And the next one, and the seed round was based on traction and growth and proof points. And in fact, we didn't even raise pre-seed until we proved that it worked, which is the first time I've done that, actually.
Okay.
Any previous company I've started, we basically gone out and raised money on a brochure. Yeah. Right. This time we decided, myself and Charles Dowd, my co-founder, we decided, no, let's build a product. Let's show that people will actually use it and it works. And, we believed that they would, but we didn't know that they would. People might have said, no, I'm not going to use that. Anyway, so we've normalized the use of QR codes now. Everyone actually is familiar with using QR codes, partly because of us. And they now know that it's more than just, scanning for a menu or something. It's actually a payment terminal. So getting where we've gotten to, so it was really boots on the street. So we had salespeople kind of out there signing up businesses and that. Now we've kind of switched to approaches that are much more scalable. So we don't want to sign up, chain of 5 restaurants or salons or whatever time. We want to sign up 1,000 at a time now. So it's more of a partner play. And that's what's going to bring us into the US then as well, which is kind of the golden.
And when will that happen? And how will that happen? And where will it start? And I know where it'll end. You'll be have an even bigger smile on your face. Yeah,
well, we are trying to do that as soon as possible. Now, we actually started off, we did tests. We have an entity in Florida. We have an entity in the UK now as well. Actually, we actually acquired a competitor over there. But the entity in Florida was for testing to see if people would actually use it over there. Obviously, there's a massive tipping culture, but they've never used a QR code to tip or tap to tip directly. It's always been through the bill. Anyway, it turns out people do like it and they do use it. But the regulatory environment in America is such a nightmare. So even to get regulated in Florida was, months of work. And then you've got to do it 49 more times because each state is almost like a different, central bank.
But could a Visa or a MasterCard do that for you?
Yeah, this is where the partners come in. So now we're catching the low-hanging fruit here, which is, there's still a lot of room for growth in Ireland and the UK. And in parallel, we're working on, the right partner to take us into America through their regulation and launch us in all 50 states. And that'd be, then we're really on the radar of the big guys.
And QR codes do not recognize language as far as I know. So it doesn't really matter where you go, China, India, wherever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we have people from probably 100 countries have used our product. And the QR code essentially is a URL, the way we use it, it's a secure URL and that can be anything. So our QR codes can bring you to different language sites, bring you to Cantonese or whatever. At the moment, it's just English we're doing because there's enough room there.
And everybody's going to ask the same question about hacking. Are you hackable, or what's the security?
No, so the QR codes aren't hackable. Our NFC, tap to pay, that's not hackable. We do get a lot of, or we used to get a lot of hacking attempts online from Russia. So we shut down Russia. People from Russia can't use our product now. Ukraine, unfortunately, as well, we had to shut them down. The US, even at times, we've had to block access from the US. This massive fraud. US is probably the most fraudulent country in the world. So,
so when you say you block access, say, to the US, does that mean that the entire operation shuts down in the US?
That means that certain areas, we can do it by IP address. You can block when if there's hacking attempts. But we've got a risk and compliance team who work with that, and it's not going to stop us from launching in the US. It's just at the moment, it's kind of noise. We just block, the attempts to use our platform.
How big is the company just now?
6 people.
And when will it be 600 people?
3 years time.
Okay. The trajectory is boom, boom, boom.
No, I think it's possible. Yes.
Now,
in reality, though, Conal, I'd say would probably be in a different home by then. And
what does that mean?
That will be probably part of a household brand name payments company.
And anybody who wants to jump aboard now, who wants to give you money, would you take their money, or do you need money, or you've just funded again?
No, yes. We're profitable now, which is a couple of years ahead of
which is nice.
Plan.
Business.
But the reason we are is a couple of reasons. One is when all the other companies last year, your Stripe and Twitter and Facebook and everything decided to tighten the belts a little bit. We did as well. And since then, we've actually tripled the business. So our costs have gone down, our revenues have increased significantly. So we're actually turning a profit. And so which puts us so we didn't raise during that time, because you never want to raise when you're distressed. And we're not distressed anymore. So now we are going out to raise again from a position of super strong position, actually, of continued exceptional growth, profitability, proven proposition in other countries now. So yes, we're raising again to initially to accelerate massively into the UK and also to take us into the US.
And who will be raising those funds for you? Do you use a brand name funder, or
we have 2 that we're trying to decide between right now. So I won't mention their names. And but to date, we've
whisper in my ear. They'll be delighted to be
maybe
mentioned.
Afters, yeah. But we so far we've done it ourselves. Actually, myself and Charles Dowd. Initially we kind of reached out to our own, because we both kind of founded companies before. So we had a kind of a network of investors and that. So we reached out to people we knew in the first round. The second round, we widened the nets a little bit. But we've done all the fundraising to date ourselves, which is good and bad. The bad is that it does take up a lot of management time.
Yeah,
so
I can
for
imagine
the next round, where we're really taking up a notch, we'd like to get US investors in, which means...
There's a family called the Collisons. They're from Limerick, I think, who are big in payment.
Yeah, are they investing?
I'd say they probably are.
Yeah, maybe we should go to Limerick then, and it's a bit closer than the US. So the reason we'll possibly engage a proper advisory firm now to this is because it brings in bigger investors from the UK and US that we wouldn't have access to.
That's what they
yeah.
You better, before we forget him, you better mention Mark O'Dwyer, Big Red Cloud. He is in business with you, or he is part of, or whatever. Explain.
We recently started, literally 2 weeks ago, we started executing a relationship there with the Big Red Cloud and Strikepay. They are, probably the leading, or one of the leading cloud accounting platforms in Ireland. So many thousands of businesses use them for all their accounting, and they all do invoices and take payments and everything. And so what we had proposed to the Big Red Cloud is, look, our platform, we've actually, in a number of ways, we've become an embedded payments platform now. So we don't necessarily need to be the brand out front. We can power other platforms, and we are powering quite a lot of platforms now. So with Big Red Cloud, we've built Big Red Pay, which is essentially a semi-white labeled version of Strikepay. But the really interesting thing about it is, for the first time ever, we don't know if anyone else has done this. all the people who use those cloud accounting platforms, when they start using us or Big Red Pay, let's say, to take payments, it's much, much easier to get the payments, but B, it's reconciled within the accounting platform. So instantly from, either replacing cash or paper invoices, they're getting instant payments, which are instantly reconciled. So in terms of the business, they have not only to have the cash or the payment much more quickly, they also have all their reconciliation work. So they know
where it came from.
They know where it came from, and they know what they have, to play with on a day-to-day basis instead of waiting for.
That is powerful.
Yeah, I tell you how powerful it is. So 2 weeks ago, we started a roadshow with them around Ireland. So we were in, Wexford, Kilkenny, Galway, Kerry, Cork, Limerick, everywhere. And on the very first day, we were in Wexford, and I stood up and presented, this is Big Red Pay, this is how you can use it. And there was a business there, a quarry company in Wexford, who have 10 people kind of collecting, trying to get money every day or giving out invoices, and 6 trucks, 6 lorries that go out and deliver gravel. Excuse me. And what they were doing until 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday is literally the driver was taking out a paper docket and saying, there you go, that's 650 euro or 2,000 euro, whatever, and handing it to the person saying, it'd be great if you could, pay that at some point. And then accounts would spend the next 10 weeks chasing for payment.
Yep.
So
every business listening knows your pain.
Right. Well, here's what we did. Within 5 minutes at the end of my presentation, the owner of that business is a lady, said, I wanted one of these cards for every truck. And so we have a card with a tap to pay or scan QR code to pay. And so we had all 5 trucks onboarded within about 5 minutes. We have the fastest onboarding experience of any payment terminal.
Wow.
And the drivers now, when they go out, they still hand the docket, but the QR code's there, and they say, oh, that's how you pay. And know that you can actually go ahead and pay, so that people are actually scanning and paying straight away.
Yeah.
So we've shortened the time to get paid from 10 weeks to about 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. That is brilliant. And that, again, is with Mark O'Dwyer, who must love you.
And his clients love us. I mean, they're already using it. We after day 2 of that roadshow, we could see payments coming through.
We are going to run out of time, but you will please come back to us again, because your business is going to go through the roof, and we need to know more. And particularly when you're ready to tell us who your big partner, the big one in the States is, which could be now Stripe. I'm just looking at his eyes. Could be Stripe. Oh, it's not. No, he just said no, not Stripe. Final question, and I hope you got it. Hire in a heartbeat. Who would you like to hire in a heartbeat?
Someone I only met quite recently, actually, a few months ago. And when I think of her, I just get motivated just even thinking of her. And I actually rewind to Christmas. We won an award, the KPMG Financial Services Awards. We won as the best challenger, I think it was 2022. And lady called up on stage, and the lady kind of shook my hand and presented, there's your award. And I said, thanks very much, took the photograph and kind of walked off. And then afterwards, the next day, someone said, oh God, it was great that you got to meet Louise Phelan. And I said, oh, that name sounds familiar. Who's she? And that's the lady that gave you the award yesterday. I was really embarrassed that I didn't know. So I looked into her background, and she's off the charts. I mean, she ran PayPal.
She did?
In Europe, and plus a load of other companies. And so I reached out to her and said, I'm terribly sorry. I'd love to meet you. I didn't realize who you were. Can we meet for a coffee? And so we met, and an hour later, I was just mesmerized. I've never met anyone with that kind of, she's tour de force, and she's so positive, optimistic. I came away from there thinking, oh my God, Strikepay is going to be bigger than Stripe now, just because she filled me with so much confidence, and she's very, very straight talking.
Love those people.
She's a real straight shooter, like a very direct, blunt even, and I just love that. And other people seem to love it as well, because Michael Leary's brought her on the board of Ryanair, Kingspan have brought her on the board of there, and they just, I presume, love her for the same reasons I do, is that she is just, a rocket,
And we haven't had her on here yet, so maybe Louise Phelan, if you are listening, that you might like to join us on that great business show. Before I let you go, there's always a final question. I love the name Strikepay. Where did you come up with it?
Well, just the motion that you make when you're tapping your phone or striking your phone. And
nothing to do with trade unions and looking for your strike pay.
No. I mean, and did you confuse it with that? I don't know. Or did you think you thought it was a great name? Maybe you thought it was something to do with that. No, in fact, I wouldn't even want any kind of confusion with that. Initially, it was just Strike. Strike your phone on one of our, tap to pay, tap to donate things, because we were initially, some really big charities, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Marie Keating Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis Ireland. They put us in thousands of locations around Ireland where you could tap to donate. So it was Strike. That's where the Strike came from. We just added the pay in order to kind of help with SEO, and that it was going to probably cost $10 million to get Strike being us to the top of the Google search ranking. But once we had to pay, pretty quickly we come up top. And also it's more about what we do. I mean, we are payments, so it's explanatory.
Tin, what it says on the outside, type of stuff. Exactly. That is Oli Kavanagh, co-founder of Strikepay. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Done Deal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Done Deal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
De facto shaving oil, the world's best shaving oil. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
This interview was first posted on episode 140 of That Great Business Show, essential listening for anyone looking for tips, insider or not. For more great business insights, listen back to our entire back catalogue of